All right, you guys asked for it. Let's do the Legend of Korra tier list for the relationships. Hey everyone, welcome to the Geek Talk today. Let's discuss relationships, the Legend of Korra ships. I can already hear you guys in the comments making arguments because I can already tell that a few of these are going to be controversial for some of you guys. So I'm just going to, let's just put a trigger warning right here at the beginning. If you don't like people talking down to some of your favorite ships or talking up some of your least favorite ships, this is the wrong place to be. But know that what I like to do on this channel is speak from honesty and speak from my own opinion and not the opinion of the zeitgeist. So just to explain how this works, if you didn't see my first video, oh by the way, I did this for the last Airbender characters and now I'm doing it for the Legend of Korra characters. If you want to see that video, it's somewhere around my head. The categories are S tier, in-game, then we got the next one down is long-term relationship, then we have summer fling, one date, just good friends, and why does this even exist? I am using the tier list maker. I'm sure you guys are familiar with this. It's popular on YouTube right now. Again, I have a video about this already. You can watch it there. Let's go. First relationship, we have Bitar Jr. and Kuvira. Now it's obvious just from the show, like the show canon, which I don't really care about show canon. I'm gonna say that right now. If something happened in the show and I don't agree with it, that's how I'm gonna rank it because this is my own personal list. But I know in the show canon, they are long-term, but it's obvious that Kuvira was not as down for Bitar as Bitar was for Kuvira because Kuvira was willing to kill him. So just for that reason, I'm gonna say they probably should have just had a summer fling. That would have been the most healthy spot for them, I would say. And this is mostly on the backs of, I think that Kuvira is just too much of a career woman. Now this Kuvira that we know from the show, granted, if we maybe saw her in, the comics and we saw more of her, not just in her past, because I know that the Ruins of the Empire, that we see some of her past stuff, but like in terms of the future, if we see her grow again, maybe they can rekindle this relationship. But as far as I can tell, looks like Kuvira is career oriented, ain't got time for Bitar Jr. So I'm gonna say that summer fling is the most that they should have gone. I know they went longer, but I think they should have stopped at a summer fling and then went their separate ways. Next up, we have Bitar Sr. and Suyin. Now, of course, we know from the show that they are in-game, they got married, they had children, and really, I don't have too much commentary on this couple as I don't really remember too many things between them except for maybe like worrying about their kids, like maybe talking about Opal a little bit and just like the idea of Kuvira breaking up the family and the nation and stuff like that. But other than that, I don't really see. Oh, you know what? There were some scenes in there where I think that Bitar let Suyin be her own woman, and I think that's very important for a partner in Suyin, is that if you're gonna be with her, you gotta let her be her progressive self. Because as we saw with her relationship with Lin, her sister, she doesn't do well with rules. She doesn't do well with people kind of like keeping her closed off and being one kind of thing. And it's obvious, I mean, I don't know if this is for sure, this is me like making the assumption that probably this relationship was successful because Bitar Sr. allowed for her to be that way, to be open, and he too was probably very progressive and open too, as we can see from the children that they reared and brought up. So in game, the reason they're in game is because they work together really well and they respect each other's personalities and they bring something to the relationship together. If I slur words, I'm sorry, I do that quite often and I don't catch it until after I edit sometimes, and then I'm like I'm bad with words. Anyway, so now we have Ginger, I believe this is Ginger, right? Ginger and Bolin. Obviously, they're a one and done kind of couple. We saw that from the show itself. Ginger was only into Bolin when he was famous, and well, when he actually showed that he was an effective bender and not just like a sleazy actor person. But obviously, they should not go any further than one date, and that's all that really would come of it. I mean, maybe they could possibly go to the summer fling, but another question about this too. They never actually broke up in the show. If anyone ever noticed, like I think a lot of people just forget about book 2, and I think the writers also forgot about book 2 and the relationships that happened in book 2, because they did kind of get together, but then we don't see them being together in book 3. So I don't know what happened there, but obviously one day they have this. Now this one's an interesting one, Bolin and Eska. Now this one's weird. This one's really weird. I think because this easily could have gone in-game if freaking Eska wanted it to go in-game. Like if she demanded it, it would have gone, because Bolin, unless he would have stood up for himself, which I don't know if Bolin would have done. He might have stuck to the relationship. Although he did kind of break up with her. He kind of broke up with her by running away from her. So I don't think the scenario would ever actually happen. Maybe long term might have happened before Bolin said, I'm out of this thing. But really, this should have been a one-date scenario. Bolin should have got out of it the second that he realized that he was not into the Eska in the way that he thought he was. Because really, he was just trying to like get with the girl, right? He was just trying to talk up a girl and be like, hey, I want to be with you. And she was like, you know what? I will make you mine. So it kind of turned into like a summer fling, even though it wasn't a summer fling. It was more of a winter fling. But yeah, I think that this would have been most successful if it would have been a one date. Though I would say that it might have been okay as a summer fling because Bolin would have learned a valuable lesson from Eska about what a healthy relationship looks like. Because I think Bolin has had a few situations in which he's had a hard time with finding someone who appreciates him as much as he should be appreciated. And Eska doesn't really appreciate him. She's more there as you know, do as I say kind of a situation versus actually being there for him. And he needs a nurturer, which is why when we get to another certain character later on, why that person works so well for Bolin and why Eska does not. So yeah, I would say summer fling only for the sense that I think Bolin needed that to learn the growth, even though he didn't really learn it because it was Eska who broke up with him at the end and was the one who could realize that this was a bad relationship. Somewhere deep down within her, she knew that. So yeah, summer fling, I think that's good enough for them. They can learn from each other, move on. Oh, and I'm thinking about the couple that I was talking about, Bolin and Opal. Yes, I think that they should be in game. They are in game. They are perfect complements to each other. Like I was saying, Bolin needs someone who is a giver, and Opal being this airbender, progressive, brought up by Suyin, I think that's going to help him a whole lot. And not just from him too, also on the other side of Opal, he gives Opal a sense of being loved. I mean, not that she didn't have it before. With her, I think she needs Bolin less, but I don't think that just because she needs him less that their relationship would be diminished in any way. But yes, they're great for each other, great compliments to one another. All right, next up we got Bolin and Korra. Now, as we know, this was basically like a just good friends / one date, and some people might be surprised by this choice that I'm gonna make, but I'm gonna put them at, no, I'm just kidding, just good friends is where they're gonna go. Now the reason I say just good friends for this is it's true, Korra did him a little dirty, although she didn't really do him that dirty because she never really made it known, or no, that's the wrong way to say this. She never led him on is what I'm trying to say. So it's fair for Korra to do what she did because even from her perspective, she never really saw Bolin as a romantic partner, and she never even gave off those kind of vibes. She didn't like lead him on or anything like that. She just like, hey, let's go hang out. Like, she didn't really think it was a date. She thought they were just hanging out when they, you know, did all those things across Republic City. And Bolin, it was more about him having a crush on Korra rather than really liking Korra. Now, the only time I do think they had genuine chemistry was when they were burping at the bar or the noodle shop. That was when, but that was more of a chemistry, I think, of friendship than it was of like a romantic sense of it. And Bolin is such this huge romantic that he builds up these women as pedestals that he needs to go up to, which is why he gets into relationships like he does with Eska, or how he gets into the situation with Ginger. He romanticizes relationships. It would be nice if Korra reciprocated, but she just doesn't have that attraction to him. So yeah, just good friends. Maybe they could have gone on one date and realized that they're just good friends, but I think that this would always bump down to good friends. It would never go up to a summer fling. I think that's pretty fair. Bolin and Asami. Now, I don't think they have much in the way of chemistry. I think they also would be in the category of just good friends. There was that one scene that I liked a lot between them when they were playing Pai Sho, when they were doing the stakeout in book 3. That was a really cool scene, but there was absolutely no romantic anything there. I don't see what either of them can bring to each other. And also, I'm gonna be honest though, I'm not a huge fan of Asami. I think she's a very basic person, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with being basic, but I just don't know what to latch onto with Asami a lot of the times. And that's also going to be a reason why it's going to be hard for me to place her in most of these relationships that are coming up in this tier list, which is why I'm saying, if you're triggered, please just know this is just my opinion, just one guy's opinion on the internet. You don't have to worry about my opinion. All right, next up we have Mako and Asami. Yeah, I think they're in that one date summer fling category. Obviously, I think they're summer fling because they're two very attractive individuals, both of them, and that is what drew them to one another initially. And, you know, Mako's got that like suave little guy going on, but I don't see, I mean, obviously it didn't work out, and for good reason. I don't think either of them had any deep connection between each other. Like, I actually would say that Mako had a deeper connection. What's funny is that they had deeper connections with Korra individually rather than them having good connections with each other, because there's an actual love triangle going on between them, which is funny because people say love triangle and they actually aren't using it correctly. The thing that's going on between Mako, Asami, and Korra is actually a love triangle. But yeah, it's interesting that these two don't work. And I can't pinpoint why, except for the fact that I said the whole deep connection thing. They don't really have a deep connection with one another. I guess it's just that it's a superficial thing, and maybe we could have seen more of it come out if they were to get together longer and they stuck it out, but they just seemed to have a lustful kind of relationship. Like, they were just genuine. And that happens sometimes in life. You just have relationships where you're just like, that person's attractive as fuck, I want to bang them, you know. And you know what, that's what summer flings are for. That is what a summer fling is for. All right, next up we have that little boy, I forget his name, it's like Skoochy. Yeah, I think Skoochy. And who is that? That's not Jinora. I think that's Ikki. Ikki and Skoochy. Now, the thing about this, while this looks cute, like the optics of this is very cute, I don't know enough about Skoochy to say if they would, maybe, you know what, also she's kind of romantic. She likes going, let's give them one date. I would say one date, and that's all I can really say about them because I don't really know this kid, the little slumber kid person, and I know Ikki enough to know who she should be with, but I don't know if. Let's just make it up. Let's just say that they want to go on a date because she wants to get with the bad boy. I don't know. Let's just leave it like that. Next one we have is Jinora and Kai. I think we didn't get to see enough of these guys. Obviously, we know they go past summer fling. They're in long-term relationship as they are in the canon right now. But again, like I said, canon is more of a basis for me, but not necessarily my end-all be-all for these categories and such. But yeah, I think they're pretty well balanced for each other, especially because Jinora is so insulated as a person, because she's been kept in like the air nomad faith. She kind of needs those rough edges of Kai, and Kai needs the rules and the segmentation and the order that a Jinora can bring to his life. So I think that they're a very good couple. The only reason I can't say they go in-game, although I have no real argument of why they can't go in-game, if someone put it in-game, I would not fault them or try to counter them in any way, is because I just haven't seen enough of their relationship, and I haven't seen enough turmoil in their relationship to see, like, you know, if they can get past the point of long-term and get to in-game. So I think I'm very comfortable with putting them here in in-game, or sorry, in long-term. Wait a minute, that's not, guys, I made a mistake. Let's pretend wait, is that supposed to be Ikki? Wait, I think I have a double here. I think I have double pictures of Jinora and Kai. But let's just say that this was Ikki. So if it was Ikki who got with Kai, I think they should only go summer fling, for the reason of, I think that Ikki would play into Kai's bad boy persona a little too much, in the kind of the same way that I think that Ikki would play into Skoochy's bad boy persona a little bit too much, but that nothing deep would come from it, unless, you know, certain circumstances come up or anything like that. But generally speaking, I would say that summer fling would be for them. So let's pretend that this is Ikki and Kai in this one. All right. Okay. Don't be mad at me. I know you guys are going to be mad at me because I'm going to give them credit, but I'm not going to give them the credit I think you guys are going to think they deserve. But Korra Asami, I think, only goes long term. I don't see them going in game. Here's the thing about these characters. I was full disclosure, when I first watched the show, I was one of those people who were like, whoa, this relationship came out of nowhere. What's going on? And not because of them being a same-sex couple. I don't care about that at all. Like, whatever. It was really because I did not see romantic chemistry between the two characters, even as going far as to the comics, the comic that comes right after this one, the Turf War comics. I saw some conflict between them, and it's something that is more to do, I think, with Korra than Asami, in that Korra is still a hothead, and I think she still has more growth to do before I can say that she can be in game with anyone, let alone Asami. It's possible that with these stories that are coming out, I can see more of examples of me attaching to them where I would go in game, and I'm over here like being all tiptoey about it, but that is really my just genuine opinion about this couple. Is I only see them being long term, and I see them fizzling out and breaking up possibly because I think there might be too much, even when I saw like in Turf Wars, I saw too much like animosity or like too much fighting between them. And I think that is a Korra issue more so. And if it's a thing that Korra can grow out of and then they can grow together with that, that'd be awesome. But the thing is, again, like I was saying before about Asami, I can never really pinpoint Asami and her personality, and I can't ever really assess her and who she should kind of be with. Because I don't really know enough about her. Like, I know enough about Korra where I can have an opinion about what kind of person she should be with. But so the whole reason I'm having this issue with this particular couple is the Asami factor. Like, not the Korra part, but like the Asami factor. All right, next up we have Iroh and Korra. And I'm gonna say, why does this even exist? Because okay, hold on. I won't say why does it even exist. I'll put it in just good friends. But it's just that they, on two levels, they didn't really show much of anything as a friendship, and they didn't show much of anything in terms of like romantic interest. And the reason I say this is because all their interactions, from my recollection, is that they were all very just strictly professional. So you know what? No, I'm gonna stick with my gut. I'm gonna say, why does this even exist? Because I don't understand why that exists, except for maybe someone's thinking like Dante Bosco or Zuko kind of situation, and they think that would be cool with the two. I mean, yeah, we can speculate and say that, oh, hey, they might be able to vibe because we can assume what General Iroh's personality is, but I really don't know how to pay this guy. I don't know what he likes for lunch or, you know, what makes him happy. But yeah, I don't think that really works. Kuvira and Korra. So here's one I can talk to you a little bit more, and I think they for sure, this might go up, but I think they for sure can go summer fling. And the reason I say that is because I think they can learn a lot from each other. There are a lot of similarities between the two, and that might be the reason why I say that they don't get past summer fling or go to long term or endgame, is because they are so similar and maybe they don't challenge each other enough. But also the thing about that too is that sometimes people who are quite similar pair up very well. Like not all people need different energy, they need the same energy in a relationship. So that might work out for these two. But again, yeah, they're like mirror images of each other. They have very similar upbringings, very similar desires. But the only thing I wonder about these two is if they were together, would they enable the worst parts of themselves, or would they grow together? And I'm more inclined to think that they would draw out the worst parts of each other, which is why I think the summer fling is kind of like the cap for these two, and they wouldn't go much further than that. All right, so next one, we've got Kaya and Lin. Okay, so this one's interesting. Hold on, I gotta think about this one for a second. Now, let's think about Kaya, right? Kaya's kind of like this compassionate nurturer, but she's also kind of like, she's got a little bit of sass to her. And then Lin, we know she has ultimate sass, and she's very much like Toph. I would even say she's even a little bit more grumpier than Toph, I would say. Right there, you have that counter, right? Now, do we know, does Kaya need someone who is super grumpy and sassy? Like, I don't know, because I really don't know enough about Kaya to know if she needs that in her life or in a relationship. I definitely think that Lin would benefit. So this is more of like a situation, like I said, with Opal and Bolin. I think it's more of a situation that I think Lin would benefit more from being with Kaya than Kaya would benefit from being with Lin. But because Kaya and these type of people, like, you know, Katara and the compassionate types, are so there for people, it might be that Kaya can get Lin out of that shell, and I can say at least that they are long-term, possibly even in-game. The only thing about in-game is that I just don't know enough about them to know that, would Lin break Kaya? Would she break her to the point where Kaya's like, I can't deal with this anymore? And you know what? In verbalizing that just right now, I think that she could. In contrast to what Tenzin had as a relationship with her, where they were a long-term relationship but didn't go to endgame, Tenzin, I don't think isn't the most patient person all the time. And I think Kaya, at least the little bits that I've been able to see from her so far, have seen her being an extremely patient person, so they could get to endgame. But because I'm speculating and I'm not really, you know, able to know that for a fact, I'm gonna say long term, but they definitely have the potential to go endgame. We have Lin and Bumi. You know something? Okay, hold on. I'm gonna say for sure, I'm gonna put them in Summer Fling. And the reason I'm gonna say that is because I think that counter is even more contrasty than what Kaya would, and Kaya being that compassionate type for Lin who might need that in her life. Bumi is so carefree. And the fact that he's so carefree, I think, will be something that Lin needs. Or there's two things that can happen. Lin would appreciate how carefree he is in life and learn something from that and be more carefree herself, or she would be so annoyed that she would break up with him. So I think that's the reason why I would put it in Summer Fling, because I think they would go past at least one date, because I think he would charm her enough a little bit that she's like, I want to see where this goes. But it's possible. The fork in the road for this one is, will Lin be okay with this sense of humor? And if she is, then I can see it going long term. If she isn't, then it's gonna stop at Summer Fling, and then that's it. Now, of course, with Lin and Tenzin, we know that they were long term. They did not get to endgame, and I think I agree with that assessment. I think the show made it very clear why that was the case. Why Tenzin chose Pema instead of Lin. Tenzin kind of needed someone like Pema in his life. He didn't, like I said, he's not the most patient person. I don't think he had enough time to really like be compassionate and understanding enough to Lin and what she wanted out of life. And also he wanted kids, and it's very obvious from the show that Lin did not want kids, which speaking about that, I think this is why this relationship could probably be pretty good, because I don't think Bumi, obviously he hasn't had kids yet. This, you know what, just for that point, I'm going to put them at long term, because I think that they would like that part of each other, that neither of them wants kids, so long term for them. Possibly even in game if that's something that's really cool. But again, that whole thing about Lin might be annoyed at his sense of humor keeps it down a peg. But yeah, I definitely agree with the whole ending to Lin and Tenzin. I think that long term was as much as they could do. They gave it a fair shot, just didn't work out between the two. Korra and Mako. So this one I think definitely should have stayed as a Summer Fling. Similar to what I think with Asami and Mako, I think it was based mostly in attraction, though I do think that Korra and Mako, were a better couple together than Asami and Mako, because Korra and Mako did have a little bit more heart-to-hearts between one another, and I felt like there was a little bit more of a deeper connection between the two. But I mean, as we've seen, they're always at each other's throats. Korra didn't do a very good job of listening to him. Mako didn't do a great job of listening to her. But I think it's actually more Korra's fault. Again, like I said before, I think Korra is the one who's mostly at fault in most of these relationships, whether I'm talking about Korra and Bolin, where, I mean, no, let me take that back, because I don't think Korra was leading on Bolin. So I think Bolin was just putting her on a pedestal. But Korra and Asami, I think Korra would be the issue in that relationship. Korra and Mako, obviously, I think Korra was the main issue of that relationship, though Mako also had fault in that as well. And then we have the threesome between the actual love triangle between Korra, Asami, and Mako. I think, I mean, this kind of almost happened. They did overlap and kind of had that situation, but I don't know. Like, I don't know if that actually would work or not. I'm trying to think. It would be based on Mako. I think Mako is the key to this relationship. Would he be okay? I think initially he'd think it would be cool. So I think, you know what, let me put them in Summer Fling. Because I think Mako initially would be like, okay, I can try this. I can have 2 girlfriends, but not realizing that it's not just about having 2 girlfriends, it's having a relationship between all 3 of them and making sure that there's a balance between that. And that's the thing about like poly relationships, is that it's not really just about like, oh, I'm benefiting from these 2, when it's really supposed to be like this whole trio thing. Although sometimes in poly relationships, it is just, you know, oh, I'm into these 2 and these 2 are into each other, but, you know, certain people don't have relationships with each other within the triangle kind of situation. There's so many different kinds. The poly is complicated. There's a lot to it. But I think this would only go Summer Fling. I don't think that this would go long term. I think it would get too messy, for the same reason that I think that, you know, these relationships individually don't go that far, except for with Korra Asami, which I do think will go long term and is basically in the long term phase within the scope of the comic books right now. And then we have Mako. Oh my god, there's a duplicate again. Well, we already know where this one's gonna go, but there's a duplicate of Mako and Asami again, but we already know, talked about that. That's there. This one is General Iroh And Asami, again, this is gonna go into like the why does this even exist kind of situation, because I don't know anything about the personality of Jinora Iroh. We've only seen him in a professional setting, so I just can't put him with anybody because I don't know who this person is and who was he like. I don't know. Oh, okay, so we have Ming-Hua and Ghazan, so we know that they have been together before because of Bolin's questioning in that truck. So it's possible that they are a summer fling or long term, because it seems like they were on again, off again. And if someone's on again, off again, would you call that long term or would you call that a summer fling? Like, how would you guys categorize that? I don't know. I think I'm gonna say probably long term, because it seems like they've known each other since they were kids and they were just on again, off again. Why they were on again, off again, I'm not sure, because again, Ming-Hua doesn't show that much personality, and neither really does Ghazan all that much, if I'm being really honest. They do speak amongst each other, but it's always about like, you know, let's kill the Avatar, let's capture the Avatar, or like mission, but never like about their personalities, which I would have loved. I know you guys, some of you guys know this already, I would love to have had a Red Lotus alone chapter or book or graphic novel or anything like that, so that I could understand where these guys are coming from, how they came to be radicals like they did become. Because yeah, I would like to know why is it that they were on again, off again? Why? What kind of relationship happens between Ming-Hua and Ghazan? And I can't really say I know for sure why or what. Peli and Ming-Hua. I don't really know much. I mean, well, Peli, we know that she loves the drive of Zahir, and that's the reason why they were together to begin with. So I mean, it could be very similar. I can see that, like they were summer fling, because I can see her, by her I mean Peli, admiring that about Ming-Hua. And Ming-Hua, I think that's probably why they all vibe with each other so well, because they all enjoy each other's passion and their loyalty to each other. So I can see on the basis of that, summer fling. Not sure I can say long term, because we don't have the same history that we have with you know, the idea that they're on again, off again with these two here, but we don't really have that history with them. So summer fling is enough. Who is this? This is Kuvira and Opal. Oh, now this one is interesting. I'm gonna say long term for these two. Now the only reason I say long term and not endgame is because I think eventually Opal would see how ambitious Kuvira was and wouldn't be like down for that, obviously. But I can see how initially they could have vibed with each other, obviously because of proximity. They both grew up in Zaofu together. The optics of it looks really cool. I think they look really cute together. But also I think that they could potentially even go endgame if freaking Kuvira wasn't so up her butt about like taking over the empire and being who she is. But again, like I said, if Kuvira was able to grow or something like that, then yeah, then maybe she could actually foster a relationship with Opal. But I think it's more likely, well, I can see two scenarios of them breaking up. I can see Opal breaking up with Kuvira because she's like, I can't stand, you know, you and your ambition, you're too much for me. Or I can see Kuvira being like, hey, you're holding me back, I'm out of here. So but then the idea is, how soon would they come to that conclusion? Would they come to that conclusion after a summer fling? Or would they come to that conclusion after long term? I think long term. I think Opal would hold that down for a longer period than a summer fling. And then it would break up versus it being a summer fling kind of thing. Yeah, I think that's right. This is Pema and Lin. Ooh, I don't know. I think, and I'm going to be honest here, and this is, I think Lin wouldn't get along with Pema very well at all. And the reason I say that is because she's kind of the opposite person that she would like. I think she's actually kind of a little bit peeved that Tenzin left her for Pema, because Pema's kind of like, you know, just kind of like this sweet, caring. I'm sure like Lin's going like, she's not so sweet and caring. She's still my man, or like, you know, she's not sweet and caring. She's got this other like, you know, side to her. I can see her being very bitter about that. So I can see them going on one date. Well, no, why would they go on one date? Because I don't see Lin asking Pema out, and I don't see Pema asking Lin out. And honestly, I don't even see them hanging out. So I'm going to put this in why does this even exist, to be honest. Because, yeah, I don't see them wanting to hang out. I don't see them even wanting to go out on a date. So yeah, I'm gonna put this in why does this even exist? Pema and Tenzin, of course, are in game, and I think that they're in game particularly because I think Tenzin needs someone who's, how can I say this without sounding like I'm wrong? Because there's nothing wrong with being a housewife. Like there's nothing wrong about being a homemaker, that type. I know that it seems like a dirty word nowadays, I guess, but like I think all kinds of roles should be accepted It's just that we should always let that be open for all people. You know, like we shouldn't say that Pema can only be a housewife or only can be a homemaker. But Pema is exactly that. Like, that's what she is. That's what she enjoys doing. She loves like raising the kids. She loves you know, just being with Tenzin and having this like romantic relationship with him, and kind of coming out of her shell, being like this shy girl that she is, and confessing her love for Tenzin. And Tenzin, I think he needs someone who can help him hold it down, especially where he is in his life and trying to rebuild the air nomads and building up this family. He needed a family woman, which is different, very different from what he got with Lin, who I'm sure they had a good relationship with each other, but when it came to like the core values of how are we going to take this long term, that's kind of the breaking point for Lin and Tenzin, and that's what he gets from Pema, someone who is passionate about being a family woman. And this one, I don't care what she said. Why does this even exist? Although, you know what, to be completely honest though, it is probably in game because they have this eternal bond with one another. Vaatu and Raava, of course, is who I'm speaking of. So yeah, let's put them in game because they have this eternal connection between one another. Tonraq and Korra's mom, whose name I am forgetting right now. But I mean, we know that they're in game. I can't back why they're in game though. Like I mean, they're supportive of each other. And that's all you really need, I guess, is just to be supportive of each other. But I haven't really seen much from them as like on an individual level of like why they like each other, why they vibe with each other. Or is it just a case of them being in this marriage together and they just develop this bond over the course of the marriage? I don't know. I'm just making guesses here, so I have no clue about these two. All right, here we go. We have Korra and Tahno. I think I kind of get what's going on here. What they had some sexual tension because of like the fights they had between each other. The thing is, I don't know Korra would. I can see Tahno asking Korra out, but I don't think Korra is going to accept that date. So you know what? Let's keep them as just good friends. I think that's as far as these two would go. Just good friends, and that's it. We have Meelo and the girl with the daisies. Man, Meelo, you know Meelo would have got that date if he didn't have to like go look for Korra in book 4. Meelo would have got that date. It seemed like the girl was kind of like playing with him a little bit, being like, oh, you're so cute, whatever. But I bet when Meelo had his growth spurt and he grew up, I can see this going to summer fling. Now, the thing is about Meelo, I think he takes after Sokka. And I think Sokka, like I was saying in the other video, I think he's a very summer flingy kind of guy most of the time. Very similar to Zuko too. I think Zuko's a very summer fling kind of guy. Because Meelo is hitting on so many girls, he was hitting on Asami when he was 5-6 years old. He was hitting on this girl when he was like 10 or whatever, 9, 10. I'm gonna say summer fling for them at least. And this one's very funny. We have Mako and Prince Wu. Now, the thing about this is I definitely see Prince Wu wanting to get into Mako's pants. Now, the issue here is would Mako let him? And my thought process here is that I think Mako would give Wu one pity date. I think he'll give him one pity date. And if for some reason Wu can blow his mind and actually be like really amazing on that date for whatever reason, like we get like this whole storyline about him actually being able to be like this suave guy who's like really interesting and really introspective, then we could see it going to like a summer fling. But I think one date. I think Mako would give Wu at least one date, but he's Wu. Let's remember, he's Wu. He's a little bit annoying, so I don't know how it's gonna work. These guys in game for sure. Now, but I have an argument against in-game. Now, I think in-game because automatically, you know, the ride or die for each other. But the reason why I say possibly not in-game and long-term is because of Zahir's flight. Zahir got over Pali really quickly. Like, she got destroyed in front of him. Like, 50 yards in front of him. And like the next moment, he was like, don't care about her anymore. I'm gonna fly. That's the reason why I'm gonna say long-term and not in-game. But that's really hard because they're also so ride or die for each other. I wish I could have like an in-between. Like, really, guys, it's like right in the middle. Like, these guys are like right here. But I'm gonna put it long-term, and then I'm gonna say long-term only because of that one instance of Zahir getting over her so quickly. And last but not least is Varrick Zhu Li. Now, here's one that might have some controversial opinions. I don't think they're a good romantic couple. Now, maybe a summer fling would be fine for them. But the relationship was really weird to me. Like that whole last season when, like, you know, the confession of love happened and they got together was really strange to me, because the relationship between them has always been like this boss and assistant kind of a thing. And I get this weird vibe that, like, I don't buy into Zhu Li liking him. Like, I don't buy into that. Like, it came out of nowhere for me. Very similar to the Korra and Asami stuff, though I think the Korra and Asami stuff was a little bit more better built with the whole letter passing, but I don't think the letter passing was even enough for me, even in the context of me knowing that those letters were more romantic in nature. Zhu Li and Varrick don't really have that. It just kind of came out the blue to me, and I'm also uncomfortable with it because of that relationship, you know, that boss and assistant relationship, and I wonder how genuine it is, because I think it's not really well written. But you know what, that's it. That is my list for Legend of Korra ships. Of course, I want to hear from you guys in the comments below, and also be nice to each other, because sometimes you guys talk about these relationships like they're like real life or whatever, or like this is like the most serious thing to debate about. Let's just have fun about these things, guys. This is why we do ships, right? It's just kind of fun to talk about. But I want to hear from you guys in the comments below. What do you guys think about the relationships of Legend of Korra? Who would you pair together? Who are some of your favorite ships, some of your least favorite ships? And let me know why in the comments below. And you can watch more of my videos here on the left side of my face, but on the right side of the screen. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace, love, and remember, be water, my friends.